Imagine waking up every morning feeling drained, unmotivated, like life is passing you by while you stay stuck on the same spot. You tell yourself, I'll do it tomorrow again and again, but tomorrow never comes. Deep down, you know you're capable of more, but laziness keeps whispering, relax, take it easy, you have time. And that little voice, it's robbing you of your dreams, your potential, your life. Now let me be brutally honest with you. Laziness isn't a character flaw. It isn't a sign that you're weak or incapable. Laziness is simply a symptom, a signal that your energy, focus, or motivation is misaligned. And here's the truth that most people will never tell you. Coming laziness doesn't require willpower or waiting for the right moment. It doesn't require a sudden surge of inspiration. What it requires is strategy, understanding, and action you can take right now. Today, I'm going to show you 6 powerful tricks that will ignite your energy, crush your excuses, and make laziness vanish instantly. These are not theories, not empty advice. These are practical, immediate tools that high achievers, successful people, unstoppable performers use every single day to dominate their lives and achieve more than they ever thought possible. By the end of this speech, you won't just understand laziness. You'll own it, control it, and eliminate it from your life. Learn how to move from hesitation to action in seconds, how to turn small steps into unstoppable momentum, and how to create an environment that forces you to succeed. So I want you to commit to this moment. Put away distractions. Turn off that little voice telling you to stay comfortable, because what you're about to discover can change the trajectory of your life. Are you ready to take control? Are you ready to stop waiting and start doing? Then listen closely, because your transformation begins right now. Let's start with something that most people completely overlook when they talk about laziness. Laziness isn't just a matter of discipline, and it's not a sign that you're weak or incapable. Laziness is almost always about your state, your mental, emotional, and physical state. When your energy is low, when your mind is stuck in hesitation or doubt, when your body is sluggish and heavy, you feel like doing nothing. Everything seems impossible. You might have goals, you might have dreams, but in that moment, your body and mind are not aligned with action. And the brutal truth is, unless you learn to shift your state, no amount of motivation, amount of pushing yourself is going to make you act. Now, imagine this. You wake up one morning, you feel tired, your mind is foggy, you've hit snooze 3 times, and all you want to do is scroll, procrastinate, avoid responsibility. That's your default state. But here's the thing, your state is not permanent. It's not fixed. It is flexible, and it is completely under your control. You can change it instantly. You can decide right this second, you are no longer going to allow fatigue, doubt, or hesitation to dictate your life. And the way you do it is simple, yet powerful. You change your physiology, and your mind will follow. Your body is the most immediate lever you have to crush laziness. Move, stretch, jump, pump your arms, shake out tension. When you change the way your body moves, your brain releases chemicals, dopamine, adrenaline, endorphins that shift your energy, heighten your alertness, literally awaken your capacity for action. You don't have to wait for motivation to strike. Motivation comes from movement. That's why high achievers, people who get things done no matter how they feel, never wait for the perfect mood. They know the perfect mood is created by action, not the other way around. Take a moment and feel yourself right now. Notice the position of your body, the tension in your shoulders, the heaviness in your chest. Laziness thrives there. It finds its home in slouched posture, shallow breathing, and the weight of inaction. But the instant you shift, stand up tall, breathe deeply, pump your arms, smile, move, you disrupt that lazy state. You send a signal to your brain that says, I am ready. I am awake. I am alive. Suddenly your mind starts racing with possibilities instead of excuses, and your body becomes a catalyst for action. And don't underestimate the power of rituals to anchor this shift. Some of the most effective people in the world have a consistent routine to raise their energy. It could be something as simple as 5 minutes of stretching, 10 push-ups, a cold splash of water on your face, or a short walk outside. These actions might seem small, almost insignificant, but their impact is massive. They trigger a cascade of physiological changes that force your mind to engage, focus, and act. Laziness cannot survive in a body that is energized, awakened, ready for movement. It's not just about moving your body, though. It's also about what you feed your mind during that transition. Many people get stuck in laziness because their mental state is filled with doubts, fears, and self-defeating thoughts. You change your physical state, pair it with intentional, empowering language. Speak to yourself with clarity and authority. Say, I am awake. I am capable. I will take action right now. The combination of movement and empowered words rewires your state instantly. You are no longer a passenger in your own life, waiting for energy to appear. You are now the driver, commanding your body and mind to perform. Let me give you a real word example. Think of a time when you were stuck, feeling lazy, and yet somehow a single action broke the spell. Maybe it was standing up and going for a walk. Maybe it was turning on music and dancing for a minute. Maybe it was simply deciding to take one small, deliberate step toward your goal. That tiny act of movement, that shift in state, ignited a chain reaction. Suddenly, you were focused, energized, and unstoppable. That's how powerful state change is. Laziness doesn't stand a chance when you harness this principle. Here's another key truth: energy is contagious, and the signals you send through your body affect your emotions, your decisions, and your outcomes. When you slump, your brain interprets it as defeat. When you rise, your brain interprets it as readiness. When you pump yourself up, your brain interprets it as opportunity. This isn't theory. This is biology, plain and simple. You are wired to move, to act, to create momentum. Laziness is just a state, and states can be reversed in seconds. And I want you to really understand this. Laziness does not have to be a battle of willpower. Willpower is limited. It will fail you if your body and mind are stuck in a low energy state. The secret is not trying harder, it's shifting faster. That's the difference between people who endlessly procrastinate and people who get things done no matter what. Difference is energy, focus, and immediate state change. You create your own power when you refuse to sit in a lazy state any longer. So the next time you feel yourself slipping, feeling that heavy pull toward inaction, do not plead with yourself. Do not wait for motivation to arrive. Change your body, change your posture, change your breath, and the mind will follow. Step into action, even in the smallest way, and watch how your energy escalates. Watch how the fog lifts, how clarity floods in, possibilities appear that were invisible before. You will not need to debate with yourself. Laziness has no argument against a body and mind that are alive, energized, and moving forward. Remember, overcoming laziness is not about getting more rest, waiting for the perfect conditions, or trying harder. It's about understanding that you control your state. You control the energy in your body, the focus in your mind, and the momentum that propels you toward your goals. Every action, every step, every small movement is a declaration: I am awake, I am alive, I am in control. When you master this, you stop being a victim of laziness. You stop surrendering to hesitation and delay. You start commanding your energy, harnessing your focus, creating unstoppable momentum. This is the first and most powerful trick to overcoming laziness instantly. Change your state, change your energy, and take control. And when you do that, nothing can stop you. Now that we've talked about changing your state and igniting your energy, let's address something that stops almost everyone dead in their tracks: the sheer size of the task ahead. Laziness loves overwhelm, thrives on the feeling that the mountain in front of you is too high, too wide, too impossible to climb. When you look at your goals, your responsibilities, or even your daily to-do list and see a giant wall in front of you, your brain screams, "This is too much. I'll do nothing." And that's exactly what happens. You freeze, you procrastinate, you scroll, you distract yourself, and suddenly hours are gone and nothing is done. But here's the secret most people never understand. Mountains are not climbed all at once. Mountains are climbed step by step. The way to overcome laziness instantly is to shrink the mountain into pebbles. Break your overwhelming tasks into the smallest, most manageable steps imaginable. Think about finishing the entire project. Don't think about completing the entire goal. Think about the next move, the tiniest action that moves you forward. It could be sending an email, opening a document, making a phone call, writing one line, one pebble, one step. And the moment you take that first step, something incredible happens, momentum begins to build, and laziness starts to dissolve. Laziness is fueled by the gap between where you are and where you want to be. The bigger that gap feels, the more your mind convinces you to do nothing. But when you shrink that gap, when you make the next action crystal clear, your mind says, "I can do this." It's no longer overwhelming. It's achievable. You've taken the first pebble and placed it in front of the next one, and suddenly the mountain doesn't look so impossible anymore. You've started a chain reaction. That's how laziness is destroyed, one small, deliberate action at a time. Think about how people naturally tackle challenges when they are in a flow state. They don't sit paralyzed by the enormity of the task. They focus on the next step, the next move, the next pebble, and as they accomplish each small piece, confidence builds, motivation grows, energy surges. And before they know it, what once seemed impossible is no longer intimidating. This is not luck or magic. This is a principle of human psychology. Clarity breeds action. Confusion breeds paralysis. When you shrink the mountain, you create clarity, and clarity annihilates laziness. Let me give you an example. Imagine you have a major project due, a report, presentation, a business plan. At first glance, it feels overwhelming. You might even say to yourself, "I'll never get this done." That is laziness whispering in your ear. But now, take a deep breath and ask, what is the very next action I can take? Maybe it's opening a blank document. Maybe it's writing one paragraph. Maybe it's researching a single point. Whatever it is, make it so small it feels almost ridiculously easy, then do it. That's the pebble. That's the first victory. And victory, no matter how small, ignites momentum. Laziness doesn't stand a chance against momentum. This is why procrastination is so often tied to perfectionism. People want to do it all at once, perfectly, completely. And because they can't, they do nothing. Here's the truth: action creates clarity, not the other way around. You don't need to have the perfect plan, the perfect energy, or the perfect moment. You just need the next step, the next pebble. Once you start, the path reveals itself. You start building momentum naturally, and that's how progress becomes inevitable. Another key element of shrinking the mountain is prioritization. Not every task has the same weight or impact. Laziness loves to disguise itself as business. You fill your time with trivial actions because the real mountain feels too big. To defeat this, identify the small but high impact steps. The pebbles that matter most start there. Complete those first. The sense of accomplishment will be magnified, energy will rise, and suddenly the tasks that once seemed impossible will feel like a natural progression of your momentum. And here's something most people overlook: breaking tasks into small steps doesn't just make them easier, makes them psychologically irresistible. Your brain loves small victories. Each completed step releases a surge of satisfaction, a chemical reward that reinforces action. That reward makes the next step feel natural. No longer dragging yourself up a mountain, you are stepping from pebble to pebble, enjoying the journey and building unstoppable forward motion. Laziness cannot survive in an environment where small wins are constant and visible. The most important things you can do is to visualize your pebbles, see them clearly, write them down, map them out. When your brain can see exactly what to do next, it stops wasting energy on indecision, worry, and resistance. Instead, it channels energy toward action. And once you've completed one pebble, another becomes obvious, and another and another. Before long, the mountain has been climbed, not through brute force, not through endless struggle, but through strategic, deliberate, manageable steps. The beauty of this approach is that it's immediate. You don't need motivation to start. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need inspiration. You just need clarity about the next action. The mountain doesn't intimidate you because it has been reduced to steps you can handle. And as you continue, laziness begins to lose its grip because it thrives only in overwhelm, confusion, and inaction. Remove those and laziness has no foothold. Here's a final truth. Momentum compounds. One step leads to another. One victory builds confidence. One action triggers the next. Soon you're moving faster than you ever thought possible. The mountain that once paralyzed you now becomes a series of simple, manageable actions. Laziness is no longer a barrier. It's a memory of what used to hold you back. You've discovered the power of breaking it down, of starting small, conquering by taking one step at a time. The next time you feel that familiar weight of overwhelm, remember this, you don't need to climb the entire mountain today. You only need to pick up the first pebble. Take that first action, no matter how small. Let it trigger momentum. Laziness cannot survive when momentum begins. It can only survive when you stare at the mountain and freeze. Step by step, pebble by pebble, the mountain will fall before you. And once you understand this principle, so you make it a habit, you will no longer be controlled by laziness. You will be guided by clarity, momentum, and the unstoppable force of action. Now that we've tackled your state and learned how to shrink the mountain into manageable steps, it's time to talk about something far more powerful than discipline, willpower, or motivation alone. It's the hidden driver behind every action you've ever taken, every goal you've ever achieved, every decision you've ever made: emotion. Laziness is rarely defeated by logic. Telling yourself, I should do this, or I need to be productive, might make you nod in agreement, but it will not move you. Logic alone cannot ignite your action. Action requires fire. It requires leverage, requires emotion. And here's the truth. If you want to overcome laziness instantly, you must set fire with emotional leverage. Emotional leverage is the force that creates unstoppable action, is the bridge between knowing what to do and actually doing it. It's the deep, burning reason that drives you to move when your body wants to stay still, when your mind wants to procrastinate. The comfort of doing nothing calls louder than your dreams. You must connect the pain of staying where you are with the pleasure of moving forward. And the stronger the connection, the faster laziness disappears. Let's break it down. Laziness thrives in a vacuum of emotion. It grows when there is no consequence for an action, when the cost of doing nothing seems distant, abstract, or insignificant. But as soon as you introduce strong emotional leverage, as soon as you tie your actions to a compelling reason, laziness has no chance. Pain is a powerful motivator. Pain is immediate. The fear of loss, of regret, of missed opportunity can ignite movement faster than any pep talk or motivational quote ever could. You feel the weight of staying stagnant, you are forced to move. But here's the catch: pain alone is not enough. Pain without purpose can leave you paralyzed, anxious, or frustrated. That's why you must pair it with pleasure. Pleasure is your destination, your vision, your reward. It is what drives you forward once you've felt the pain of an action. Imagine the exhilaration of completing a goal, the pride in your accomplishments, the joy of proving to yourself that you are capable of more than you thought. That pleasure becomes a magnet, pulling you toward action, while the pain of remaining lazy pushes you from behind. Together, they create unstoppable leverage. Think about the moments in your life when you acted despite hesitation, when you pushed yourself even though your body wanted to quit. Chances are you did it because you felt something so strongly, because you connected to a consequence that was unbearable or a reward that was irresistible. That's emotional leverage at work. It's what separates those who achieve from those who dream. The most successful people in the world don't just stumble into it. They create it deliberately. They anchor themselves in reasons so powerful that laziness doesn't even enter the equation. The beauty of emotional leverage is that it can be cultivated consciously. You don't need to wait for some life-altering tragedy or stroke of luck. You can create your own leverage by asking yourself, what will happen if I do nothing? Will I lose if I stay stuck? How will my life be different if I take action right now? These questions are not abstract. They are weapons against procrastination. When you answer them honestly, when you feel the consequences deep in your body and mind, you ignite a fire that propels you forward. Now let's talk about the power of visualization and creating emotional leverage. When you can see, hear, and feel the impact of your actions or inactions, you turn abstract goals into visceral experiences. Visualize what your life will look like if you continue to allow laziness to dominate. Picture the regret, the lost opportunities, the frustration of knowing you could have done more. Let that pain settle deep inside you. Then flip it, visualize the life you want. Feel the pride, the excitement, the energy of taking control, of achieving what you set out to do. Let that pleasure pull you forward. Suddenly, action is no longer optional, it's inevitable. Here's a key insight. Most people overlook emotional leverage instantly because emotion moves faster than reason. Your mind can debate, rationalize, and make excuses all day long, but your emotions respond immediately to strong, vivid, meaningful triggers. When you feel the weight of consequences and the exhilaration of reward, your body responds. Your energy spikes, your focus sharpens. Laziness is replaced by unstoppable momentum. It's also important to understand that emotional leverage is personal. What works for one person may not work for another. Some are driven by the fear of failure, others by the excitement of success. Some respond to external consequences, others to internal pride. You must discover the triggers that light your fire. Experiment, reflect, and observe what moves you most deeply. When you find it, you've found the lever that can destroy laziness instantly every single time. Another practical approach is to anchor your leverage in someone else. Responsibility to others can be one of the strongest motivators. Knowing that someone is counting on you, that your inaction will affect someone you care about, instantly elevates the cost of laziness. Suddenly, it's no longer about comfort or convenience. It's about integrity, about living up to your values, about rising to the occasion. Emotional leverage isn't just internal. It can be amplified by your connections, your commitments, and your impact on the world around you. And let's be honest, most people try to fight laziness with discipline alone. They push, they force, they resist. But here's the truth. Discipline without leverage is exhausting and limited. Willpower will fail, motivation will wane, and laziness will creep back in. But emotional leverage, when harnessed correctly, is limitless. It taps into the deepest forces inside you, the fear of regret, the desire for fulfillment, the hunger for progress. And it moves you into action immediately. You don't wait for motivation to strike. You create it. You control it. Use it as a weapon against procrastination. So if you want to overcome laziness instantly, you must do two things. First, connect to pain, the unbearable cost of staying where you are, the consequences of doing nothing. Feel it in your body, in your mind, in your heart. Let it push you. Second, connect to pleasure. The reward, the joy, the fulfillment of taking action, achieving your goals, becoming the person you know you are capable of being. Let it pull you forward. When you combine these forces, laziness is obliterated. Action becomes inevitable. Momentum becomes unstoppable. And here's the most important part. You can do this right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. Right now, close your eyes for a moment and feel the consequences of doing nothing. Feel the regret, the lost opportunities, the frustration. Then flip it and feel the exhilaration of taking control, of moving, of achieving. Let that fire ignite your body, your mind, your energy. Let it push you off the couch out of hesitation and into action. Because once you tap into emotional leverage, laziness has no argument, no foothold, no chance to survive. Emotion moves faster than reason. It acts before excuses appear. It propels you forward when logic fails. And when you harness it intentionally, deliberately, and consistently, you have unlocked one of the most powerful tools to overcome laziness instantly. The fire you create today can carry you through every challenge, every obstacle, and every moment where laziness tries to pull you back. Now that we've covered state, momentum, and emotional leverage, let's talk about one of the silent killers of action, one of the main reasons laziness sneaks into your life and keeps you trapped without even realizing it. It's not lack of energy. It's not lack of discipline. It's distractions. Every single day, distractions surround you, pulling your focus, draining your energy, and stealing the time that could be spent moving toward your goals. Laziness loves distractions because they give it cover. They make doing nothing feel acceptable, even normal. They prevent you from realizing your potential. If you want to overcome laziness instantly, you must learn to destroy distractions before they destroy you. Distractions are everywhere. Phones, notifications, social media, endless messages, emails, trivial tasks, they all compete for your attention. And your mind, without clear direction, will always take the path of least resistance. When your attention is fragmented, energy dissipates, and the mountain of work seems even taller. You open your laptop intending to be productive, and 2 hours later you realize you've scrolled through endless content and accomplished nothing. That is the stealth power of distraction, and it is one of the main allies of laziness. First step to defeating laziness is to recognize that distractions are not harmless. They are not innocent breaks. They are intentional barriers between you and your potential. Every time you allow yourself to be distracted, you reinforce the habit of inaction. Your brain begins to associate comfort with avoidance. Your mind convinces you that scrolling, procrastinating, or multitasking is acceptable, and slowly laziness becomes your default. The moment you realize that distractions are the enemy, you gain control. You understand that in order to move, you must remove the obstacles that steal your focus. Eliminating distractions starts with your environment. Surroundings have a profound impact on your ability to focus. If your workspace is cluttered, chaotic, or filled with triggers of inaction, your mind will mirror that disorder. You cannot expect clarity and momentum in a space that encourages fragmentation. Clear your desk. Turn off notifications. Create a dedicated area for work and action. Even small changes, removing your phone from arm's reach, organizing your tools, eliminating noise. Send a signal to your brain this space is for action, not for laziness. But it's not just physical distractions that matter. Mental distractions are equally dangerous. Thoughts like, I'm too tired, or I deserve a break, can hijack your attention if you let them. Laziness loves rationalizations because they make an action feel justified. The key is awareness. Notice when your mind drifts. Catch the excuses before they take root. Redirect your focus immediately to the task at hand. Train your mind to recognize distraction as the enemy, and every time you resist it, you strengthen your ability to act despite temptation. Another critical aspect of destroying distractions is setting boundaries with technology itself is not evil, but unregulated use creates endless opportunities for procrastination. Turn off notifications. Close unnecessary tabs. Limit social media to specific times of day. Consider using tools that block distracting websites when you need to focus. Each small adjustment creates space for action, space for focus, and space for momentum. Laziness cannot survive when you control your environment rather than letting it control you. Prioritization is also essential. Many distractions are disguised as tasks, small, seemingly urgent things that pull you away from what actually matters. High achievers don't just work hard, they work smart. They filter distractions through a lens of importance. Ask yourself, is this essential right now? Will this move me closer to my goal? If the answer is no, eliminate it. Don't wait. Don't rationalize. Distractions are enemies in disguise, and every moment you allow them to linger, laziness grows stronger. Time management and focus rituals amplify this strategy. Set specific blocks of uninterrupted time for deep work. Use techniques like the Pomodoro method. Work intensely for 25 minutes, then take a short break. During that time, commit to zero distractions. Turn off your phone, close tabs, silence notifications. You force your brain into a state of undisturbed focus, productivity surges. Laziness is defeated not through endless self-discipline, but through intentional distraction-free action. Another powerful tactic is to create accountability systems. Someone else is aware of your commitments. Distractions lose their power. Laziness hates accountability because it exposes inaction. Tell a friend, a colleague, or even a mentor what you are working on. Share your deadlines. Create checkpoints. You know someone is watching, your focus sharpens, your energy rises, and the temptation to get distracted diminishes. Emotional leverage and accountability together form a wall against laziness. It's also important to understand that destruction of distractions is not about perfection. You will slip, your mind will wander, and distractions will appear. What matters is immediate correction. Recognize the pull, refocus, and keep moving. Laziness does not survive in an environment where attention is consistently reclaimed. Every small victory against distraction compounds. Momentum grows. Focus becomes habitual. Action becomes inevitable. And here's something most people fail to realize. Destroying distractions is empowering. It gives you ownership of your life. Every time you resist a distraction, you are training your mind and body to value action over comfort, results over passivity, and progress over delay. Laziness cannot exist where clarity, control, and intention dominate. It loses influence, and soon productivity and momentum replace hesitation and procrastination. So take a moment and evaluate your environment, your habits, and your mental space. Identify the distractions that steal your time, energy, and focus. Eliminate them ruthlessly. Protect your attention as if it were the most valuable currency in the world, because it is. Once you do, you will experience a freedom and efficiency that laziness can no longer touch. You will feel the surge of momentum, the clarity of purpose, and the unstoppable energy that comes from focusing without interference. Remember, laziness thrives on fragmentation. It grows when your attention is split, when your focus is weak, when distractions dominate your life, but you are not powerless. By removing distractions, by creating an environment designed for action, by setting boundaries with technology, prioritizing relentlessly, and by holding yourself accountable, you destroy the foundations on which laziness depends. Action becomes effortless, focus becomes habitual, and productivity becomes your default state. And once you master this principle, you destroy distractions before they destroy you. You take back control over your time, your energy, and your life. Laziness has no argument. It has no leverage. It has no chance. Now that we've talked about eliminating distractions, let's address one of the most powerful tools you can use to destroy laziness immediately. It's simple, it's fast, and it's incredibly effective. It's called the 5-second rule of instant action. This principle is deceptively simple. The moment you feel the impulse to act, you have exactly 5 seconds to move before your mind creates an excuse, before hesitation creeps in, and before laziness finds a foothold. If you act within those 5 seconds, you bypass resistance. Momentum is created almost instantly. Think about it for a moment. Most people never act because they wait. They wait for motivation, for clarity, for confidence, for the perfect moment. And while they wait, laziness sneaks in, disguising itself as reason. They debate, they rationalize, they overthink, and before they know it, hours have passed, opportunities have been lost, and their energy has dissipated. But it doesn't have to be that way. All it takes is a decision, small leap, a push within 5 seconds of feeling the urge. That is the difference between action and stagnation. That is the difference between results and excuses. Here's how it works. You feel a nudge to do something, pick up the phone, start that project, write that email, make that call, take that first step. The moment that urge arises, don't think about it. Don't debate it. Don't rationalize why it's hard or inconvenient. Count down silently 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move. Take action immediately. That countdown is a trigger. It interrupts the part of your brain that creates hesitation. It bypasses fear, laziness, and procrastination. And before your mind can argue, you are already moving. The genius of this method is that action precedes motivation, not the other way around. Most people wait for inspiration to strike, for motivation to appear, for their feelings to align with their goals. But here's the truth: feelings follow action. Motivation is not something you wait for, it's something you create. You create it the moment you move, the moment you take that first step, the moment you refuse to allow hesitation to win. This is how high achievers operate every day. They act first, the results fuel the fire for the next action. Laziness doesn't stand a chance against someone who moves decisively. Let me give you an example. Imagine you've been procrastinating on a critical task. You know it needs to be done. Your mind keeps coming up with excuses. You feel resistance, and that resistance is normal. Almost everyone feels it. But instead of listening to it, you use the 5-second rule. You count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you begin. You open the document, you type the first sentence, you make the first call. Suddenly, momentum is created. The initial fear or hesitation disappears. Your energy shifts. You are in motion, and motion is the antidote to laziness. Once you start, action feeds itself. This principle works because hesitation is the breeding ground for laziness. Laziness thrives in delay. It grows in the spaces where action is postponed. It finds excuses, distractions, and rationalizations to keep you from moving. The moment you take action, even in a small way, laziness loses its grip. It cannot exist when you are moving forward, when you are making progress, when you are engaged. Action is the ultimate cure. And it's not just for big tasks. Second rule works for every aspect of life. It works for making a decision, sending a message, initiating a conversation, exercising, starting a project, or even getting out of bed when your mind says, just 5 more minutes. Every moment of hesitation is an opportunity for laziness to sneak in. But every time you count down and act, you train your brain to respond with immediacy, to bypass excuses, and to value action over inaction. That is how habits are built, how momentum is maintained, and how laziness is conquered permanently. Another key aspect is that this rule trains courage and confidence. Each time you act within 5 seconds, you prove to yourself that you are capable of control, capable of initiative, capable of moving despite fear or discomfort. This self-trust compounds over time. Soon, you are no longer waiting for permission from anyone or anything to act. You act because you know that action is the path to progress, the antidote to laziness, and the only way to achieve your goals. It also creates a habit loop that reinforces success. The countdown becomes a signal, a ritual that tells your brain, it's time to move. Hesitation is over. Laziness ends here. And when this becomes a habit, your brain begins to anticipate action, to prepare for it, and to make it easier over time. What once felt difficult, uncomfortable, delayed becomes automatic. You don't negotiate with yourself anymore. You act, you move, and momentum follows. And let's be clear, the 5-second rule is not about reckless, thoughtless action. It's about decisive, deliberate initiation. You don't act blindly, you act quickly, with intention and with purpose. The countdown is a tool to bypass hesitation, not to abandon strategy. You still plan, you still organize, but you refuse to be paralyzed by overthinking or fear. That is the power of immediate action. It starts small, but builds unstoppable momentum. There is another benefit that most people overlook: the psychological impact of immediate action on your confidence. Every time you act before hesitation wins, you reinforce the belief that you are capable, that you are in control, and that you can overcome obstacles. Laziness cannot survive in a mind that trusts itself, that values decisiveness. And that has proven repeatedly that action is possible, even under resistance. Confidence grows with action, and laziness diminishes in its presence. And here's a critical insight: most people underestimate the value of seconds. 5 seconds may seem trivial, but it is the difference between action and delay, momentum and stagnation, progress and wasted potential. Seconds compound into minutes, minutes into hours, and hours into life-changing results. By mastering the first 5 seconds of action, you master the flow of your life. You no longer let hesitation dictate your day. You dictate your day, you dictate your energy, you dictate your results. So the next time you feel the urge to delay, the next time laziness whispers, not now. Remember the power of the 5-second rule. Down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move. Move physically, mentally, and emotionally. Let the momentum begin. Let the energy rise. Let your mind and body respond to action, not fear. In those 5 seconds, you have the power to change the trajectory of your day, your week, and ultimately your life. Action is the antidote to laziness. Momentum is the weapon. The 5-second rule is the trigger that sets it all in motion. Use it relentlessly. Use it consistently. Let it become part of who you are. You will find that laziness no longer has a place in your life. It cannot compete with decisive action. It cannot compete with momentum. Cannot compete with a person who understands that the first 5 seconds are the most powerful in defeating hesitation and creating unstoppable progress. Once you master this rule, once you act before hesitation can win, you unlock a level of productivity, energy, and focus that most people can only dream of. Laziness is left behind. Momentum takes over, and the results are inevitable. Now that we've covered energy, momentum, emotional leverage, shrinking tasks, eliminating distractions, and immediate action, final principle that ties everything together: the environment you live in. The truth most people never face is this: your environment either empowers you or it enslaves you. Laziness is contagious. It is reinforced by surroundings that encourage inaction, comfort, and distraction. If you want to overcome laziness instantly and permanently, you must design your environment to force action. Your environment is more than just your physical space. It's your routines, your habits, the people you surround yourself with, the tools you use, and even the signals you send to your own brain. Every element communicates a message: either move forward or stay stuck. If your environment is chaotic or passive, it whispers excuses to your brain, telling you it's okay to delay, to hesitate, to procrastinate. But if you arrange your surroundings with intention, if every object, routine, and system is aligned with your goals, your brain has no choice but to respond with action. Think about this. High performers rarely rely on willpower alone. They don't fight laziness every day like a battle of self-discipline. Instead, they shape their environment so that the path of least resistance leads to action. They remove friction from productive behaviors and increase friction from distractions. It's a subtle, almost invisible shift, but it is incredibly powerful. Environment can literally do the work for you. It can push you toward productivity while simultaneously blocking laziness at every turn. Start with your physical space. A messy, disorganized room or workspace creates mental clutter, saps energy, reinforces hesitation. Clear your surroundings. Remove unnecessary items. Make the objects you need for action easily accessible. If you want to exercise, keep your workout clothes and shoes ready. If you want to write, keep your journal or laptop at hand. The easier it is to start, the faster momentum begins. Laziness cannot survive in an environment where action is convenient, obvious, and unavoidable. Next, consider your routines and habits. Habits are the architecture of your day. If your daily schedule is disorganized, fragmented, or inconsistent, your brain constantly battles itself over what to do next. That friction is laziness waiting to take over. If you create routines that automate your success, you remove the need for endless self-discipline. Wake up at the same time. Start your day with a clear, purposeful ritual. Allocate specific time blocks for work, exercise, and personal growth. Your environment through routine and habit guides your behavior. Action becomes inevitable. The people you surround yourself with also shape your energy and your behavior. Laziness is contagious. If you spend time with individuals who are passive, complacent, or unmotivated, you will absorb those tendencies even unconsciously. But if you surround yourself with driven, action-oriented, high-energy people, their habits, their focus, and their momentum become a mirror for your own behavior. Your environment includes not just walls and furniture, but the energy of the people around you. Choose wisely because energy is contagious and laziness cannot compete with it. Technology is another critical element. Phones, social media, notifications, endless apps or distractions that quietly reinforce inactivity. Design your digital environment to support action, not drain it. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Organize tools and apps to make productive actions easier than distractions. Consider using blockers for sites that waste time. Let your digital environment amplify focus and momentum rather than giving laziness a playground to thrive in. There is also power in visual cues. Your brain responds to signals more strongly than to commands. When you see reminders of your goals, when your environment reflects your aspirations, your mind is primed for action. Vision boards, sticky notes, affirmations, or even clean, organized workspaces serve as constant nudges. They subtly remind your brain this is the direction, this is the expectation, and this is what action looks like. Laziness struggles to survive when your surroundings constantly reinforce purpose. Another often overlooked strategy is to design friction into negative behaviors. Make it harder to be lazy. If watching TV or scrolling social media is a temptation, place obstacles in the way, store devices in another room, uninstall apps, set strict boundaries. Conversely, make productive behaviors easy to start. Keep water nearby for hydration. Set up your workspace in advance and arrange tools so that action is the natural choice. Your environment should push you toward productivity automatically and away from inaction. Time management tools are part of this design as well. Calendars, timers, reminders. Structured schedules are not just organization tools. They are environmental triggers for action. They remind your brain of what matters, when to act, and where focus is required. When these systems are aligned with your goals, you create an environment that practically forces you to move forward while reducing the friction of decision fatigue. And here's a critical insight: your environment is not static. You must consciously design it and iterate constantly. Laziness adapts. Distractions evolve. Your environment must evolve too. Periodically audit your surroundings, your routines, your people, and your digital systems. Ask yourself, does it support action or enable delay? If it doesn't, change it. Over time, this creates a life where action is not just possible, it is inevitable. The ultimate truth is this: you are the product of your environment. You are shaped by what you see, what you touch, what you hear, and who you spend time with. By designing an environment that makes action unavoidable, you remove the mental friction that laziness thrives on. You remove excuses. You remove hesitation. You remove the opportunity to do nothing. Every element of your life, from your physical surroundings to your social circles, your habits, and your digital tools, can become a lever to propel you forward. Once you understand this principle, laziness no longer has a chance. You no longer rely on fragile willpower or fleeting motivation. Instead, your environment works with you, amplifying focus, reinforcing habits, and nudging you to action without struggle. Action becomes the default. Productivity becomes effortless. Momentum becomes unstoppable. And the life you've always imagined, the goals you've always dreamed of, becomes not just possible, but inevitable. When you design your environment to force action, no longer fighting laziness, you are living in a space where inaction is nearly impossible. You are not hoping for energy or motivation. You have created a system that delivers results consistently. You are no longer negotiating with yourself. You are commanding your life with intention, clarity, and purpose. Laziness cannot compete with a carefully crafted environment that works relentlessly for your success. And once you master this, Everything else falls into place. Energy, momentum, emotional leverage, clarity, and immediate action all flow naturally when your environment is aligned with your goals. Laziness has been dismantled at every level. Your surroundings, your habits, systems, and your social circles all push you forward. You have created a life engineered for action, progress, and achievement. When you leave this moment, remember your environment is your invisible force multiplier. Shape it wisely. It carefully, let it propel you to action. Design it so that laziness has no home, no foothold, and no argument. In this space, progress is inevitable, momentum is unstoppable, and your potential becomes limitless.